And then I would do that every $1 trillion I could take off the books, I would revalue gold.
Good afternoon, everyone. Another month approaches. We're going to look into the future, bend around the corner if we can. I got Bob Kudla right here, trade genius with me. Every month, just trying to see how the world has moved with the prior headlines, what we're looking at now, and then can we see through cycles and patterns where it might move next. So the move to commodities is upon us. Like, that's a well-known, we're definitely locked in on that one there. But why is Trump so desperate to get to the golden Fort Knox? And that's an accounting maneuver, perhaps. Bob's going to fill us in a little more on that. But when is this next market rollover going to happen in a general sense? So that's what we wanted to cover today. And please remember, trade with 2030.com. And Bob, the floor is yours. I know there's so much to talk about. And as we move through, I'm going to ask a few questions, but I'm pretty much an absorbing sponge of knowledge here myself. So away we go.
And if you just come directly to my site, tradelikeagenius.com, make sure that we know that you came from Dave, so I can give him credit for it. Everybody was basically had heart palpitations when Trump says, I need to get to Fort Knox. I need to get to Fort Knox. I got to see the gold. Everybody's like, well, maybe there's no gold there, but there's gold there. The thing is, there might be more gold there than what they've initially from the last audit. So the thinking is, the theory is, this would be that Trump wants to reprice gold at Fort Knox. Okay, it's an executive decision through the Treasury. And so Roosevelt did it. We all know that disaster when he confiscated everybody's gold. And then I don't know if it was either Truman or Eisenhower did it in the 50s. Each time they've done it, they're able to take, it's an accounting gimmick. They're able to then fund that difference into what they call the TGA account, the Treasury General Account. And they could take that notional value, which I'm told it could be up to $1 trillion at current gold prices, and they can turn right around and buy back open treasuries. So you're thinking, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, or he can open up a sovereign wealth fund. He keeps talking about a sovereign wealth fund too. There's a number of things they can do, or they can buy the treasuries out of that in that sovereign wealth fund, take it off the books, and use that as collateral, like a bank, to buy dividend-paying companies and start getting more bang for a buck. So there's definitely going to be a leverage monetary play there. And you're starting to see it elsewhere. What country did I see this weekend that, the UK pension funds are being told they need to up their allocation to UK equities. I think you're going to see them all start, and Japan's been doing it for ages. And Swiss National Bank's been buying equity for ages. So I think you're going to see across the board interest in trying to capture these higher yields that the stock market has over bonds, and they're going to probably repress the bond market, i.e. meaning lower interest rates. So, Trump's plan here is, listen, all the politics aside for a second, he's taking whatever money he could take out of the system right now. Okay, he wants to lower the rise of the deficit, and then he can take a big whack out of it if he turns around and does this the old $1 trillion platinum coin trick, right? And so you have a curve bending, if you will, on the deficit, which then could drive down interest rates, which then would propel the Republican Party into the next election cycle. I think that's the eco-politico point of view. Going into April here, I did when we talked in January or February, February 20th was the NVIDIA earnings report was probably going to mark the top. And indeed, to that day, marked the top. But April is the most bullish month of the year. Then it's December after that. And regardless of how the backdrop economically is that especially when you have a red first quarter, usually you get a strong April. And then you have to kind of start evaluating things as the earnings reports start coming in. But usually between now and May 15th, we should see a pretty good run. I tell people this is probably your last best chance to make a lot of money before the shit hits the fan in the fall with the stock market. Summertime could be flat, or June could mark the top, and we can start rolling over from there too. So it's either we're going to roll over in June 30 end of quarter, or we're going to roll over end of August into the first, or basically Thanksgiving. So that's my view. That's our thesis. But as you know, we don't rely on the thesis. We rely on our algorithm, and the algorithms are screaming at us last week to buy. Our algorithm said we're gonna go long, and I shot you some attaboys. We just made people a ton of money. You happen to share those if you want. We just told people keep the faith on this move. This is how it normally is. You don't listen to the news. These flows are much more powerful than people's feelings. And that's what happened. Remember, if everybody's leaning hard one way or the other, just like Tesla, everybody was trying to short Tesla because they wanted to teach Musk a lesson. Well, we got super long Tesla because we knew they were going to get their asses handed to them. And then gold broke 3,000. We think, going back to the Trump thing, every $1,000 increase in the price of gold adds a $1 trillion towards Trump's defund the treasury markets. We're at a point now where gold could start splooging here. And ironically, a higher price of gold, both China, Russia, and the United States benefit greatly. So one of the areas they probably can all agree with each other to reliquify their economies. And so they can, between the three of them, they can cause a panic buy. JP Morgan, all those guys are out of those short trades. In fact, they banned some of these short monetization schemes already in some of the markets. So the patient is prepared for a big move up in gold and silver. And me personally, I play with the miners because miners have leverage over the shares of the metals. And then you turn around energy. There's a deficit in oil, believe it or not. So he can drive price of energy down short term, but until he enacts and gets Russia back into the community, if you will, and if he can get Iran back into the community, then you'll see oil prices go from the high 60s to the low 50s in a heartbeat, and then he can make good on that. So that's why he's pressing so hard. And look, and it's in the best interest of both Iran and Russia to make deals here because they're both hurting for certain. And then America's in really good shape. China benefits indirectly because they obviously import all their energy, and United States, we just want to be independent, drill baby drill. But the price goes down to the low 50s. But in the short term here, we're struggling with keeping up production. So energy into June is a good play. We're already long it. So Bitcoin hasn't made its move. I've seen some charts showing that at this time after the halving is usually when a parabolic move happens. So if this dovetails with the market move, we could see basically Bitcoin into the $200,000, $300,000 area. I'm not calling that. So I'm usually a lot more measured than that, but it looks like there's a good chance we'll make a new high. But if it follows the last three halvings, you usually get a parabolic move, which we really haven't had yet. And parabolic moves are 4x, 5x moves. If you look at all the other halving cycles, a double from 60,000 to 110 is not normally what Bitcoin does. So if gold goes up, Bitcoin's going to follow for sure. I should put it this way. We're making money hand over fist because the market's been volatile. Okay. So our algorithm likes volatility because it gives you enough movement. You can make money and get out. Ironically, when the market's is grinding higher, it's kind of hard for us as traders to really make money because you're not making enough reward before some of these occasional blip downs you get. So we love it when the market's crazy like this because we can buy the dips pretty aggressively and get right back out. So we got in a trade, uranium trade last week, Oklo. We already got out today. So we got an SFIX last week. Some guys already got out of that. I moved my stop up on that. So those are the kind of trades and those are 4, 5, 6% trades. And somebody told me something last week that I'd never really considered. They said you just watch XHB, which is a home builder stock. It tends to lead any sustainable market rally. I've yet to see it make that move yet. So probably needs more than a one-day wonder kind of a thing to see. It looks like it leads the market by a week to 10 days. So take a look for yourself. Don't take my word for it. sip of
Yeah, I'm
coffee.
going to try to pin you down maybe on some timing and then a thought here. Well, if Trump's in there and he wants to revalue the gold at this current level at say 3,000,
Right.
well, would it not be outside the realm of possibility as gold's creeping up and then it hits 5,000 for them to do another revaluation and then follow it and scale it all the way up? Now, whether that be a yearly revaluation, which presidents have never done this before, but we're in like an unusual time as well here, or a every half year, 6 months, they revalue based on the increase in gold, because each time they would revalue that would then refund the treasury on what you're talking about, your accounting maneuver / accounting trick. So maybe that is a new thing that they'll do, is a revaluation every single year. I mean, there was the possibility to do it, but why hasn't it been done? Well, now gold's really starting to move. And if they revalued it every time, because I'm seeing a lot of possible gold prices at $10,000 an ounce plus. Now, if that's adding 1 trillion bringing it up to 3,000, what happens when it goes to 10,000? That's an extra 3 trillion that the US can use in terms of bond payments or rollover, like you say, take those off the books and then put them back in house to stack something off of that. A lot of possibilities to revalue yearly now. And then which would the tail wag the dog on that one?
So here, if it were me, and I was made, king for the day, I would try to get this initial move to be juicy enough to be able to pay down enough debt to drive the long-term interest rates to the floor. And then all the future deficit spending, I would try to lock in at these lower rates. And then I would do that I would say every $1 trillion I could take off the books, I would revalue gold. Look, gold's not going down. So what do we have? $32 trillion debt. So 32 times 3. So gold would have to be 110,000, 113,000. So that's not out of the realm of possibilities at all. Gold's been really suppressed for the longest time. If Bitcoin can make these crazy moves, then gold can make these crazy moves too. And so you just have to tell the bullion banks that, look, okay, guys, we're in a different business now. We're in the business of getting gold up higher. And I think that's what they're going to try to do.
On the gold silver ratio, even if it was 100 grand on an ounce of gold, that would put silver at 2,000 if it was even at a 50-to-1 ratio.
So the way I play it is that I rather own the leverage under the leverage. Look at NAK lately. NAK has been flying. This is a mine that's not been approved yet, but the reserves on it are sick. It's the largest molybdenum mine in the world, potential. One of the largest copper mines in the world, potential. Large gold mine potential. And they still don't know there's other things in there. It's in Alaska, which is perfect. And they've been looking at this thing for 20 years. So at some point, that price of gold or molybdenum will overwhelm anybody's ability to do legal challenges to it, because they'll just pay off the Alaska government enough to just make all these people go away. And then you start mining this thing. So I personally got in it a long time ago at $2 a share. It went all the way down into the low teens. And now it's at like $1.25. So it could easily move. It was high of over 20 at one point. So this is going to be a really good move there. And the reason why I bring that up is that these miners just have insane leverage. People got into NAK a couple of weeks ago, and they're up 300% already on it. Last 2 days, it's up 40%. So obviously somebody's sniffing out of an approval's coming. NAK, when that approval comes, this thing's going to go straight up. Now, just to let everybody know where I am on this thing, I bought, like I said, I don't know how many years ago at $2. It's not even for me, it's for my daughter. I'm not going to trade in and out of it, so I'm not front running anything that you guys buy. So just FYI on that. I just share that with you, is that there's very few mines of this potential sitting there, and it's easy to get to this stuff. It's on an alluvial plain in southeast Alaska. So they're going to be able to easily get to this stuff. So it's going to be a low cost to mine event. And if they could drive the price of gold up, remember, America could slap royalties on these things, to be able to pay the bills too. Trump loves doing that kind of stuff. So I think that's what I'm looking at. Gold miners, silver miners, platinum, palladium miners are all out there, and we already own our fair share of those as a swing trade. Occasionally, we'll put out a a short swing for the room.
Well, let me speaking of swing, let me swing you back over to the crypto market and maybe Bitcoin in general. You talked about some yield max funds there. So MicroStrategy buying up a bunch of Bitcoin and then swinging off into the MSTY on that yield max product. So where we sit today, MicroStrategy's dropped to around $300 a share. So if you're running up and you consider this move parabolic, I mean, what would we be looking at with MicroStrategy? Because that seems to be the prescient number one that everybody's focused on, is where the entire system, I shouldn't even say the market, but the system evaluation of using Bitcoin as a reserve in a company to put then more value on your company. It seems to be a different model, but at least they're the ones everybody's looking at. So two questions then. You're calling a June top here, possibly. I'm not going to put your feet to the fire, but you say possibly June 30th is first of June, somewhere after these next couple months of run up. Now, just in your possibility of where would that take MicroStrategy if Bitcoin goes from, let's say 80 to 130, 150, easy number, then where does that put MicroStrategy share prices at if it goes from now? I mean, the doubling of Bitcoin price, I don't think is going to make the MicroStrategy prices double. I think it's going to actually do something more than a doubling on that. But maybe I just got the numbers wrong.
Yeah, it depends where the leverage sits. Sometimes
sometimes
it's a premium to Bitcoin. Sometimes it's a discount to Bitcoin. Look, if Bitcoin goes to all-time highs, MicroStrategy is going to all-time highs, and you'll see Misty in the 50s. I own a lot of these different yield max products, by the way. And I flip from max short because there's short longs on these. So Misty doesn't have a short counterpart, so I've been using fiat, which is the short base one. But in my portfolio is that I went from being short NVIDIA with dips to being now net long NVIDIA with NVDY, and with I was 100% short Crash. Now I'm 100% long with Tesla, TSLY, and then I'm kind of even on QDTE and YQQ. I'm even on USOY, and what else do I own? Oh, then I own YBit, I own Bido. That's where
there's
I like
dividends with each of those that you were mentioning there. These yield max funds.
Massive dividends. I mean, the worst dividend I get is TLT at 18%, and I got ExxonMobil at 25%. And Misty has been paying out over 100%. NVIDIA is close to 100%. Coinbase, Coney's been close or over 100%. I'm not a big Coinbase fan because I think they don't have a moat. So I think they're going to get their heads handed to them as Bitcoin rises. You're going to look at one of the big banks come in. I don't think anybody's going to buy them because they're going to want too much for a premium. So they're going to have to try to force a take under with that. But I don't think Coinbase is doing anything so special that a well liquefied bank or tech company couldn't replicate in a heartbeat.
Yeah, because you think about fiat on the inverse on the short fund on that one. So
yeah,
as this thing runs up through June, fiat probably get down around $1 or $2, and then if you're able to pull that and buy that at $1 or $2, knowing the rollover point, then Coinbase should fall with the general crypto market. Am I wrong with that, or?
Yeah. Generally, but Coinbase may lag because all these other players are being custodians and offering ETFs, and you have Robinhood now trading. You can trade a number of different cryptos, not just Bitcoin. So they're going to lose their dominance. So we're already starting to see some of the moves already on that stuff, but that's one thing. And just so you know, I follow these really closely. So if you join our room, if you will, I tell people kind of how I'm positioned on the pair trades.
And check out tradewith2030.com to be able to join those rooms and the specials that Bob's got running right now.
I've done this now with some other people, and it's been really well received. And Dave and I are talking maybe the last week of April. He'll put the ads out, if you will, is notifications that I do like a 90-minute training seminar on kind of how we trade and how you should trade. And it's a paid training event. And at the very end of it, you get also access to the room for a year. and you get access to the algorithms for a year. And it's been really well received, and you'll be able to ask all your questions. And we limit the room size, so if you want to do it, take advantage right away. I'll get Dave the details here this week, and maybe Dave can start talking about it next week. If enough people are interested, I'll do it. And if not, we won't. We're doing a live training event in Tennessee, actually, in May, and talking about maybe Dave coming down here and press the flesh with everybody, if that works out for him. And then in June, then maybe we'll do a live. I'll show you the live market while we're doing the interview. We've done it before. I think it's good for people to see it. The algorithm is very visual. It's designed for me. I want to be able to quickly see whether or not I want to own a stock or not. And that's what we do for you. And it's a really good system. Been honing it for years, and the results have been pretty consistent. So I think you'd like to take advantage of it. Kind of what I think April is going to look like. And look, there's a lot of people are nervous and a lot of ends. If I'm wrong, April 15th could be a catalyst. Okay. If I'm wrong, first earnings reports could be a catalyst. If I'm wrong, going into the May options expiration could be a catalyst. Okay. If not, we've seen this before where we actually market even makes all new highs in a move like this before you go into a 2-year bear market. So either we're going to go just underneath the all-time high, or we're going to go just over an all-time high, and then we're going to roll over from there. So that's my story, Dave, and I'm sticking to it.
In April 15th, tax day.
Usually the day before tax day, you do see liquidity draw. I don't think it'll be the catalyst this year. I always worry around the OPEX week, so I'll be paying attention second week of May as a worry spot. And then for sure, June's usually not a very good month for the markets, but it's not a bad month for the markets either. So we'll just have to see where it goes.
Okay, so you're saying up and up until what, second week of May?
That's my working thesis until the system tells me I'm wrong.
Well, we'll get a chance to discuss that next month. I do appreciate everybody watching, and I will leave the link below, tradewith2030.com. Jump over there, see what Bob has for specials as well as algorithms. And I'm super satisfied using it myself. I keep my cards a little bit closer to my chest, what I'm doing over on the signals trading there. But again, everybody each to their own, and follow what Bob had said about individual trends on individual, whether it be metals or individual yield max products, and mark those down. And then just after a month, see where they were comparatively to what the predictions were. And you'd be really surprised on how much on the money it is. So even me, when I'm editing these, I am taking a full note sheet next to it as I'm editing. And yeah, that's my world too. So appreciate everybody joining. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Never get left out in the cold. There is never a reason to ever let you or your family suffer. Instafire and Civilization Cycle are on a mission to make fire starting and off-grid living easy for everyone. You shouldn't have to be a mountain man to strike a flame and make a fire anytime, anywhere.